Talking Miami football with you for the next hour. Welcome into Hurricanes Live, a 163rd edition. We got Cam Underwood, of course, right here to answer your comments, your questions, your debate topics from State of the U. Cam, how we doing tonight?
Doing good. Feeling good, feeling great. Feeling great, feeling good. How are you? Good to be here.
Yeah, I'm good. I am good and ready to roll. A few weeks away from ACC kickoff and August camp.
Yeah. It's coming up quickly. It's crazy.
Coming up quickly, but still for the past several days, if not weeks, the focus has been more on 2022, of course, by way of recruiting. And things have gone well for the most part during the off season. Here recently, though, a few guys that I won't say were expected to be in the fold, but wanted better results.
Yeah, I mean, one was expected in Zane Durant from Lake Nona in Central Florida. Pretty tough to have him go to Penn State, especially since all indications were that he was one of the silent commits after his official visit that Manny was kind of referencing, because you cannot reference players until they've signed. So that's why you'll never get a coach saying this recruit by name or that recruit by name kind of a thing. And then coaches have different platforms. Like, if Nick Saban is, talking at the national championship game about, I'm recruiting Cam Underwood and Mark Rogers, like on that platform versus, a mid-tier team. Or someone who's not on that stage, like that's kind of where it comes from, really, because they have different play. It's like if Coach K were to talk about recruiting when he's coaching the U.S. national team, back in the day. It's kind of a thing. So that's why they don't have that ability to name anybody by name. So you won't actually hear that from him, but that's been a lot of the chatter, was that he was one of the silently committed kids, Zane Durant was, but he ended up committing to Penn State. And even Chris Hayes from the Orlando Sentinel wrote, he was like, Zane Durant surprises his family by committing to Penn State. So like everybody kind of thought he was going to Miami because he told them that he was coming to Miami. So yeah, that's not necessarily great as a defensive tackle. And then that also engenders a conversation of where does Miami go at defensive tackle, because you have the kid from Homestead, the Daniel Lyons kid. You can hope and pray for Bear Alexander, but spoiler alert, that's probably not going to happen. So, at defensive tackle, where do you go? And for me, this just underscores the absolutely incredible importance last year of getting Leonard Taylor, the number 3 overall player in America, as a defensive tackle from the local area. And then, you want to pair that, obviously, or pair him with other players, and Zane Durant going to Penn State or picking Penn State at this time instead of Miami, not necessarily great. Jacoby Spells from American Heritage committed to West Virginia. That was widely expected. And with all due respect to Jacoby Spells, I think the people wanted him more for the line in his bio of where he attends high school than anything else in there, whether it be size, whether it be speed, whether it be ability. Because, and again, with all due respect to him, who's a player who could play and start in a Power 5 program, Miami has other guys who are better on the list at cornerback this year that we're chasing. So if he wanted the love, like he was the number 1 corner on the board, to me, he was 5th or 6th at cornerback on the board of the available options this year. And you already have Kamari Rogers, who's committed. Traquan Fagans, you're going after. Somebody else that we'll talk about in a little bit. Some other guys as well. I'm probably taking all of those guys. Well, I'll just say it because I want to talk about them. We'll circle back. So, like I said, we got Rogers committed. Traquan Fagans, Miami's still in the fight for him. Depending on when he wants to make a commitment, things could go one way or another, but definitely firmly ensconced in a recruiting battle for him. Chris Graves from Bishop Verot, who is supposed to announce tomorrow at 6 p.m. Hopefully will pick Miami. 6'5", 175 athlete, but he's going to play corner, defensive back, teammate of Malik Curtis from Bishop Verot in the past few years. So he's one, and I would take him on the board over Spells. I'm taking either or both of the Henderson twins from Orlando, Jakari and Damari. One of them plays corner, one of them plays safety, but I'm probably going to take both of them on the list as well. You got either 4 or even if you're taking one Henderson twin and not the other at corner, I still got 4 solid that I'm taking in front of Jacoby Spells. If you put both Henderson twins on that same list, I'm taking all 5 of them before I'm taking Jacoby Spells. And again, Jacoby Spells is a kid who can play here. Absolutely. But this is one where you had to make a choice. And with all due respect, I'm going with other bigger, faster, more athletic dudes. Sorry, not sorry. So yeah, you have Spells who picked West Virginia. You had Durant who tacitly flipped because he was a silent commit to Penn State. And then a couple hours ago, you had DeMario Tolan from Orlando Dr. Phillips who picked LSU in spite of Blake Baker, who Ronan Jones in the comment is talking about. Blake Baker talking smack on Twitter. They said, yeah, I love to go to the Sunshine State and get the big fish in the boat because he went fishing. And so he had pictures of these because, you can't actually name a player's name or anything, but you can subtweeting. You're talking about him, but you're not talking about him. You know what I mean? But that was in spite of Blake Baker. It wasn't because of Blake Baker. That's perfectly honest and everything. You look back when Craig Kuligowski left Miami, went to Alabama. Craig Kuligowski, who struggled to recruit here because it's a different kind of recruiting. And then, he goes to Alabama, and Alabama's getting 5 stars in the boat because that program recruits itself. You got other people who are doing the recruiting and everything like that. Same thing in Blake Baker's instance. And I saw some people were talking about, he was a strong recruiter. He knows Houston, Louisiana, and blah, blah, blah. That would be a great point if DeMario Tolan was not from Orlando. You know what I mean? Like if he was from Nacogdoches or whatever you call it in Louisiana, or if he was from Allen, Texas, or if he was from one of those spots, you would be so right. But he's from Orlando Dr. Phillips High School. Man, coach at Miami couldn't get anybody really of consequence at linebacker. So miss me with he's a great recruiter and he knows these areas when, again, he came to Florida or LSU went to Florida and got this kid. Unless Jimmy Detail and Ross Dellinger and every single journalist from Louisiana writes pieces and says, Blake Baker single-handedly recruited DeMario Tolan and he gets the credit, I personally am not giving him the credit because I have a brain that works. You know what I mean? Like I saw what he did here and I saw what he's doing there, and it's the program, it's not the coach. So those 3 of Tolan and Spells and Durant committing elsewhere, not necessarily great for Miami, especially in the case of Tolan because we need linebackers and Durant because he was a silent commit and we need defensive tackles both. Hopefully, like I said, Chris Graves coming from Bishop Verot tomorrow evening will be a guy who commits to Miami. He's a 16-year-old rising senior, and I keep seeing everybody talk about this. And you're like, okay, yeah. It's noted every time, but that's really kind of incredible. So he's like a year and a half, if not 2 years younger than grade level. So, if you're talking about developmental, right, for athletic potential, he's super young. So his ceiling is even more impressive to be this kind of athlete at that young age. So you're talking the age that most guys are sophomores or rising juniors, and I'm a rising senior, doesn't turn 17 until the middle of his senior season. Hey, so that adds value because of the timeline. I forget the kid's name, but there was a lineman who went to like Houston or something who was like 16 years old, like a while ago. It wasn't Ed Oliver. It was before Ed Oliver. Defensive lineman. Or Louisville. He went to Louisville. I forget his name, but he was super young.
I know who you're talking about, too.
I can't remember the name, but he was like a college freshman at 16 or 17.
I hate to have to look it up, but I will.
He was like a Nigerian immigrant. Anyways, it's going to kill me that I can't remember his name right now. But the fact that he's so young in the terms of Chris Graves and this other player makes the value even more because he's at an advanced stage or at a young age with advanced skills. Yes.
Amobi Okoye.
Dang. There he goes. That was the one. War number 91, I believe, at Louisville. And yeah, so Chris Graves being young is a good thing for Miami or any program that we're getting him. Hopefully it'll be Miami. And then we can hopefully continue to move forward. I think since the last time that we spoke, Miami parted ways with Quan Lee, from Gainesville Buckholz High School, because he wanted to evaluate his other options. And again, if you're looking, we're looking. And Manny Diaz, the coach of Miami, has been very clear on that. And so Quan Lee said, well, yeah, I am actually looking. So are we then. Good luck and Godspeed. So Miami only has 3 commitments right now. Not necessarily where you want to be. Not on the path or pace of commitments that I was looking for at first through the July 4th weekend, but then transferring that because obviously kids were taking visits during the month of June. So you want to see a little bit more movement in the month of July. But you're 0 for 3 so far. Maybe go 1 for 4 by getting Chris Graves tomorrow in this month of commitments. And I'm not worried because I don't think that we're going to end the cycle in this state of recruiting affairs, of number commitments and everything. Although we do have a 92 or 93 player average rating, which is incredible. So I would like to see that continue. But in terms of the raw numbers in this class, I don't think that we're there or going to end here. And there are still options available that we're recruiting. For example, if you did not get to Mario Tolan, you still have the Jackson kid from Nebraska, and then you still have Wesley Basaint. You could also go back on Travis Lathan from Gulliver Prep, who's also a 4-star. So you're like, okay, I could have 3 options for 2 spots, maybe. You know what I mean? So you could find a way to still have the kind of class that you need. Me, myself personally, even though I'm not necessarily worried, I would like to see positive movement because as the time horizon closes, that's when things get a little bit more desperate, or they seem more desperate. And you don't want to seem desperate or anything, especially because you have the looming game against Alabama in 50-something days, which is probably not going to go well on the field for Miami. And you'd like to see a little bit more. I would like to see more movement on the recruiting trail in a positive way for Miami between now and then, but we will see.
That is a great find in your memory with Okoye, because I remembered exactly who you were talking about as soon as you said it, but I don't think I would have come up with him had the topic been brought up. And the reason you probably were thinking Houston was that he was drafted by the Houston Texans. He is the youngest player to ever be drafted in the first round of the NFL draft.
At 19 or something.
Yes, 19 years old, drafted in the first round of the NFL draft, 2007. He was actually the rookie of the month, his very first month in the NFL in September, and then it all came tumbling down. He only lasted 4 years in the NFL.
Got it. Okay. But again, there's stuff in here. So when we're talking about a young player and everything, the comparison to Chris Graves, I think it fits. But yeah, it was shout out to me. Good job, man.
Before we get to 2 super chats, I would like you to clarify something that I could speak to, but you are going to close the deal so much better than I will because you're a recruiting expert. Because people are constantly throwing out the term silent commits, and then somebody will enter the chat or respond just in regards to why would somebody do this? What's the purpose of it? And what are the benefits? What are the downfalls? The downfalls are fairly obvious. So if you could.
Okay, so silent commits are basically that a player has told a team or teams in some instances that he's coming to their school without announcing it publicly. So that's where the silent part comes, that there's no there's no pieces on 247 or Rivals or whatever. There's no tweets, there's no graphics, there's no outward showing of this commitment. So that's the silent part. The positive is that the player gets to lock down his spot. The player gets to connect with the coaches and the team and the staff and everything. There's also certainty. Well, I won't call it certainty, but the ability for the coaches to then count or pencil that player into the class as they're building and moving forward, doing the whole talent acquisition and roster building process. So they get the knowledge at the time and they can move and plan off of that. So now I'm going to continue to connect with that player, but I can move forward. I can do some things like that. So you get to connect with the team and player, and get to do that, have that personal connection and everything without the outward showing. The negative is, and the other part of it is that can set up a future planned announcement. Like, remember a couple of years ago, or last year, excuse me, with Romello Brinson, where he actually pulled audio from this very show and put it on the video that he used before his commitment ceremony, where he announced it publicly in the neighborhood. He had already told Miami he was coming. But he wanted to have the party. He wanted to have everybody there. He wanted to have the T-shirts made up. He wanted to have the event for his announcement of his decision on this great day in the way that he wanted to have it. He and others, have done this very same thing. So that's another positive, where you have already connected with the coaches and everything, so there is certainty there. It is not surprising to them or anything. But you also then get to plan your announcement, video, tweet, post, party, cookout, hood, kickback, whatever it is. You can plan that and make that come to life the way that you see fit. So those are the positives. The negatives are, with no public showing of anything, then you can change your mind with no negative impact, really. Reference currently, or very recently, is Zane Durant. Other teams, obviously, will always be recruiting you, but they have the ability to slide in there before you have a commitment. Say, well, yeah, look, man, you didn't even feel comfortable enough to go public with that. So why don't you, all things like that. And then things change, so that's a negative, where the staff that you told you were coming is planning on that, and then all of a sudden is caught unawares and then is planning differently. For example, Jeremiah Holloman, this is a player from years ago who went to Georgia, was on the same 7-on-7 team with DJ Dallas, told 3 or 4 different schools that he was coming, including Miami, and ended up going to Georgia. So, but he was a silent commit to all these, and you can do those kind of things because you're silent. I'm just talking to you, coach. Don't believe that, man. I'm talking to you, coach. I'm coming to South Carolina. I'm coming to LSU. I'm coming to Clemson. I'm coming to insert school here. I got you. My mama wants me to take another visit, so I'm not gonna go public with it, everything. But coach, I got you, babe. I got you. And then you say that, have that sauce game on the phone, on video chat or whatever, and then go and do something else. And that's where the negative comes in for the program that is now left at the altar, not for the program that gets the player. That's the positive. In a silent commitment scenario with a flip, and it's really not negative for the player because no harm, no foul. You know what I mean? But yeah, so there are reasons why people have, and then also you have things where, my birthday is on, or my mama's birthday, or it's a little bit before Mother's Day or Father's Day, or, I forget who it was, had a picture of their grandmother. It was just like, my grandmama wanted me to do this and everything, so this is the anniversary of her birthday, and God rest her soul and everything, and I got this picture, and she motivates me, and da-da-da-da-da. There's all kinds of those timing reasons why a player might silently commit and then publicly commit later on such a date of memory, a memorialization of a player or an idea, or a person and their family, things like that. So yeah, sometimes you just want to go forward with what you want to go forward with. And then the cynical part, which is also true, is you silently commit one place, waiting on another place to give you the green light. I'm going to commit to Mark Rogers. No, I got you. Thursday at 7, Thursday at 7, Thursday at 7. I got you. But I got this email tab right here. Ding. Oh, ESPN, Fox Sports 1, TSN2 in Canada. Shout out to my boy Matt Washington. I'm waiting on any of those, and we'll say, oh, yeah, okay, cool. Hit me up with the email. Yo, here's the link. Turn on. Cam's on TSN2 right now, live from Fort Lauderdale. What are you doing? Because I was waiting for that other offer. I'm not, because I'm here, but that would be the scenario. And that scenario.
Why would you do anything ridiculous like that?
But that scenario does happen where somebody will save their seat at another place silently and be like, hey, coach, at insert school that I want to go to, I got a spot over here in Miami. I'll take it. I really want to go to Florida State. I really want to go to Alabama. I really want to go to Ohio State, Clemson, Texas, USC. I really want that. But if I can't have that with you, that's cool. I'm just telling you, I already got a seat here. So if you don't want, I can. Or And that has happened many a time and with Miami as the team to poach and be poached. Jaron Williams, who was going to Kentucky, come on down. You got a bigger offer of, more marquee school. Got it. And there's other players and other times where Miami has been snake bitten by that same kind of a thing. But that is also just the cost of doing business with silent commitments, if you will.
Has anybody shown up at their restaurant of choice and there's an hour wait and you say, yeah, reserve the table for me. And in the meantime, you're kind of checking out, looking around, and maybe you're in a plaza and you can go like 3 different places and find out what the wait is there. Oh, only 15 minutes. Well, let's ditch them and we're going to head over here.
I can sit your party right now. We have specials tonight. I give you a bottle of wine for $5. Cool. Mark, your table over at Trulux or da-da-da-da-da. I found other accommodations already this evening. Thank you very much.
Sure thing. Cam Underwood, State of the U, talking up the Canes each and every Thursday night, typically at 7 o'clock Eastern time. So you can fairly be assured that we are going to be here at 7 o'clock Eastern time. But I've got a life. Cam's got a life. We've got other schedules that we need to work out. Therefore, subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for the notifications. That way you know when we're going live for sure. New King God, thank you so much, as always, for your contribution here. Looking ahead to Alabama, what type of defensive, offensive schemes would you employ against the Tide, and how do you think Bama will play us?
I think, let me answer that backwards. I think that they're going to initially rely on the run, but they're going to run to set up the pass. And I think that they are going to trust Bryce Young, their 5-star freshman, who's going to start super freshman, sophomore, whatever year he is, second-year player, who's going to be their starting quarterback this year. Dynamic runner, but a very, very, very good passer from Mater Dei High School out in L.A. That's the high school where basically you win the starting job at Mater Dei, you go to USC, you win that starting job, you might win a Heisman, you go to the NFL. That's that program. He went to Alabama instead. So I know that I think that they're going to go to the pass in some non-standard situations because they're going to trust him to make plays, because Nick Saban is not in the business of like really holding the reins back on a first-time starter. If you remember when Brad Kaya started his first game at Louisville, we gave him the original Tecmo Bowl offense or offensive playbook, because it was like up in A, down in A, up in B, down in B. You had like 4 or 5 plays. Very predictable, very controlled situation. I don't think that they're going to do that. I think that they're going to be aggressive with him and let him start to build his legacy and show what he can do, for one. But like I said, they're going to run, and they're going to run it, and they're going to run it. And they have a bunch of great running backs. They got a massive and athletic offensive line, even with new guys there. And it's really going to be – that's going to be a challenge, because the last couple of times that we saw Miami's run defense, it was not great. Reference the North Carolina game where they're still running counter and still just running through, around, and over everybody on our defense. So we're going to have to cowboy up. That means we're going to have to bring guys from the second level down. We're going to have to really sell out against that run, because it's imperative just to do that, to try to get them, if not behind the chains, at the chains. Not second and 1, because then the whole playbook is open. We got to get them in second and third and medium and long, if possible. So scheme-wise on defense, and I'm not the biggest scheme guy, for one. We're just going to have to – Manny is calling the defense again, which means we're going to be more aggressive than when Blake Baker was here. He's very good at calling up defensive back blitzes. He's very good at some of those things, but he will also go to that at some inopportune times. I personally would like to see Miami play more man-to-man in the back end, but with what Alabama has done and developed a wide receiver over the course of all of the time that Miami has lost these wide receivers to Alabama, and all the names, the Judys, the Ridleys, the Amari Coopers, all these guys, I don't know that I have anybody that I'm comfortable putting man-to-man on the island with them. Even a Tyreek Stevenson, who I think is going to be really good for us. So at some part, that means we got to play some cover 2, cover 4, maybe cover 3 zone. But Miami zone, been Swiss cheese when we go zone in passing situations. And Alabama's very good. And they will go run when you go to drop zone, and they'll just run over you. So you got to pick your battles, and you got to go on defense. And, if we're going man-to-man and they take it up top, all right. But we cannot let them nickel and dime us down the field. And I don't even think that they will, because they're a team that'll turn nickels and dimes into dollars and $5 and $20 bills. So you can't do that. On offense, you got to be who you are. You got to leverage the zone read game. You got to leverage the RPO game. De'Aaron King is going to have to make a couple plays where plays were not there to be made. Tight ends are going to be a big part, because the interior of the defense, I think, is something where with Will Mallory and Elijah Arroyo, we can take advantage of that. And some receivers going to have to make a play somewhere. The other thing that was a previous comment down here, which is so key, Miami actually has the most returning starts experience all along the offensive line in the country of any FBS team. Now, yeah, you're bringing in Justice Oluwasun from UNLV. You have all these guys who have been here for years. The experience is there. You gotta work it out. That line of scrimmage got to go forward. It can't go backwards. Or if it's a passing situation, that pocket has to be set. So no, you're not going to push forward on a pass blocking set. But that pocket needs to just be there as a perfect horseshoe, and it's not collapsing. We're not getting guys who are, swimming through and Alabama's a great team. They have incredible players, and you're going to get some pressure sometimes. You know what I mean? But if this game and this season depends so much on this offensive line, and we've talked about them for years of growth and development in terms of technique, in terms of the 5 together, in terms of physical growth and strength individually. This is the time. If it's going to happen, this is the time. So I need to see that with Donaldson back into the 330s or 320s for weight instead of 360, 70, 80. Zion Nelson, who people in the draft world are talking about as a potential first-round draft pick. I don't necessarily see that from him, but hey, prove me wrong. But the main thing is whatever scheme you want to do, you have to have the offensive line to provide the holes in the running game and the time in the passing game. And I can talk about so many other things. You want to run slip screens. You want to go at tempo. And I still think that Miami needs to go more at tempo. I've said it for years, even with Rhett Lashley. If you go at tempo, that means no huddle on the ball. If you do that 3 more snaps a quarter, that's 12 snaps a game. More at tempo than whatever number you're running, right? 3 more per quarter. Boom, boom, boom. That's 12 extra snaps at tempo per game. That's going to wear them down on defense. And I know that they got a billion All-Americans and 5-stars over there, but that's what I would do. Especially if we get a chunk play, anytime you get a first down, on the ball, on the ball, on the ball, on the ball, that would be one of my main schematic things. But we're only going to be able to do that if the offensive line brings it. And truth be told, more than an X or more than an O, it's all about the Jimmies and the Joes and everybody on the Miami sideline, from the coaching staff to the water providers to the athletic trainers to the equipment staff to the players to the coaches. Everybody has to really play the game of their life coming up on September 4th. And I look forward to seeing that, and I hope that they're up to that challenge. But that's going to be the thing more for me that I would need to see to hopefully be competitive be competitive into the second half and take it from there.
So based on what you just stated on some of those sideline camera ISOs, I'm going to be watching for the water providers not to miss the players. They have to be on point.
Everybody's
got to be on point.
Everybody. Yeah, because if you scored it in their eye, then all of a sudden I'm dealing with the contact thing, or if I miss that, but I need that hydration, you know what I mean? And not like, oh, like, what are you doing? Everything has to be seamless, and it's like, I've gotten obviously through the show on Netflix, but I've gotten back into and way into F1, Formula One. They're talking about tenths of seconds on pit stops. Oh, Verstappen had a 2.4 second. Oh, and he's out because, okay, not Verstappen this year because he's going to win the championship. But an example, if somebody has a 2.5 second pit stop, 2.5 as opposed to 2.2, their day's done. 30 laps into a 70 lap race. It's over. We're going to just play for points. We're going to try for a different position. But in terms of the win, that 0.3 of a second now has cost me everything. That's the importance of it. That's the coordination that it takes for everybody to be out there. We long, zoom, zap, zoom. Every interaction during the Alabama game has to be like that. And I know that it sounds crazy. I know that you're watching me like, Ken, you're so over the top energetic. You are so enthusiastic. You are so, it's outsized. You know, like it's not that important. It has to be that important for this game. You know what I mean? This is not a game where we're going to, like UAB, what was that, last year, a couple years ago, we ran for 338. We're going to do this. They're not really going to beat us. They scored a touchdown, fine. But we're going to do what we're going to do, however we want to do it, and we're going to win, even if the way that we're doing everything is not at the peak of our optimization. That is not going to happen on September 4th. So you have to have that mindset. And I know it's like, okay, yeah, like a little bit of joke. No, it's not a joke. It has to be that kind of maniacal, singular focus. And if you're not in this, Tony Dungy, to play, to win the game, to strive for that kind of perfection, then you're not going to beat Alabama. Because there's a difference in talent on the roster, there's a difference in size, there's a difference in skill, and a difference in experience, and a difference in demonstrated performance on the field that you must overcome if you're the University of Miami to win this game. That's what it will take. This energy, this focus, this singular maniacal focus on perfection and nothing less. Alignment, assignment, technique. I need every single player, all 11 on the field, coming in, coming off. I need everybody, alignment, assignment, technique, every single play. And it has to be that kind of focus. And if it's not, then it's going to be like that Georgia Tech game a couple of years ago when DJ Ivey is sitting there and he's not fully focused and the wide receiver or the gunner on punt goes screaming by him and the punter drops it over the top for a touchdown. Because 10 guys were singularly focused, dialed in for the pursuit of perfection, and one guy was not. And that one guy is now on the Summer Jam screen, and we're talking about him because he gave up a touchdown on a throw from the punter. That is how quickly things can change and how thin the margins are, especially against, and I gave you an example against Georgia Tech, who's nobody's kind of good. You think that the margins aren't even smaller, infinitesimally small, when you're playing Alabama? That's what you have. That's what it has to be. This is not another game. This is not another Saturday. This is different. It's 3:30 Chick-fil-A kickoff in Atlanta against Alabama. This is a different kind of a game. And everybody on field and off has to have that kind of focus and dedication to the pursuit of perfection, else we lose and get blown out, period, before we even get in there. That's just that's how I see it.
That is one beautiful soliloquy that if I was going to clip it off and post it anywhere, of course, I wouldn't change anything except I would have my announcer just drop one little audio piece over your Tony Dungy with a Herm Edwards.
Herm, yes. Yes, it was Herm.
But it's beautifully stated. Yeah. Beautifully stated. I will add this as very conventional football wisdom. One thing that's unique about this game is it's the first game of the season. Therefore, you've got an entire off-season to game plan. Therefore, most coaching staffs, I would think, are looking at themselves. You have time to look at yourselves. And what do we do? And what are they seeing on tape? Okay, what can we do off of what we do that we've never shown before?
Yeah, it's interesting because this is not necessarily an empty the sink kind of a game, or the kitchen sink, like empty the cupboard, empty the playbook kind of a game. But it's way more. It's going to be way more dynamic and instead of vanilla, I think, than a normal opener would be. Because if you're playing, UAB or the, sacrificial FCS team or whatever, you're running your staples. You might run something that's a little kind of connected play where you kind of zig instead of zag on the second time through or whatever, that you run that concept. But yeah, no, this is a game where you can definitely buck some trends and do some things that you would not otherwise do or have not otherwise shown. And hopefully in year 2 of the Rhett Lashlee offense, particularly, you have the ability to really build off of some things that you put on film and say, okay, we've given the base play, we've given the first alternate and the second alternate to those. If you think especially of the D'Eriq King quarterback power, we've seen that run, we've seen that RPO, we've seen that Louisville Jalen Knighton leak out the sideline, gone. And it's on film. We've given 3 very distinct looks off of that action, off of that same exact set, that same exact formation, motion, all that stuff. So I've given you the primary, the initial alteration, and secondary alteration. I can now pivot off of that in all kinds of different ways, and maybe they do. So that's just one little thing in scheme. But yeah, I would expect from Miami particularly, because especially depending on the situation in the game, with little to lose, you can be more exotic. You know what I mean? Now, if it's 21-0 in the middle of the second quarter, you might go to Operation Shutdown a little bit because you don't want to get blown out. Been there, seen it against Florida State some years in the past, against Clemson in the ACC championship game, which was 35-3, but it could have been worse. And both teams with Kelly Bryant, they dialed back, and then Miami also dialed back the tempo and said, hey, we're going to try to keep this from getting to 58-0 again. And if things are getting away from you, I think you might see that. But if it's competitive, God forbid Miami has a lead. Then I'm still throwing haymakers. Because why not? You know what I mean? Now, I'm not going to be ridiculous with it, but if I have an opportunity for that, then yeah. So, I would expect to see something. I would expect and hope to see a new wrinkle or 3 in this game from Miami.
And the other thought is that unless you're a traditional Wisconsin team that would have, even against a really good team or really good defense, have an advantage in the run game, let's say, for example, the one position on the offense that always has an advantage over the same or the opposing position on defense is wide receiver, defensive back. So if your offensive line is at a certain place versus their defensive line, that's an even matchup. On and on and on. You can go to every level. But the one place, follow me here, is that even elite defensive backs have difficulty covering decent wide receivers because it's just the nature of the 2 positions and how difficult it is to play that position against a wide receiver. Therefore, you've got an advantage there. So going back to the offensive line, if they can give D'Eriq King that extra beat that he needs and he's on point, then the passing game is obviously where you create big yardage even against a better opponent.
Yeah, obviously you're going to get more chunks in the passing game. And Nick Saban's a defensive back, legendary defensive back coach. They do pattern matching, at Alabama for their defensive backs. So you try to have the defense match the patterns that the splits and the scenario would have you assume, basically, by the physical keys. And you can look up those pieces. There's plenty of pieces on the interwebs about pattern matching defense. So they will try to take some of the guesswork out by giving that structure. But yeah, if you're going to try to find space, then I think it'll be in the passing game, which again is why one of the first things I said was talking about the tight ends, because I think that you could even find more of an advantage tight end versus linebacker than you can wide receiver versus their defensive backs. But that's me.
And then also to play off of your point about the pace of the game and the tempo of the game, unfortunately, this is not Alabama 2011, because for as great and dominant and full of NFL players as they were going to play a certain conservative type offense that wasn't going to produce a million points unless you were just so bad defensively. So you could be like, okay, let's try to drag this game into the fourth quarter, take the air out of the ball, because they're probably not going to run away from us, but That's not the way they run offense anymore.
Right, but I mean, even still, not talking about their offense, but I think that for our offense to have an advantage against their defense, and I think that for our offense to have an advantage against, or continue to have advantages against other defenses, that's where I would like to see more tempo. That was not, and I've talked about it on here. We can go back and I wish that, we had an extra outside producer be like, hey, drop the clip in from here, there, and everywhere over these 160 something episodes of all the times I've talked about doing and running at tempo. This is not a new thing, and this is not insular to this game. But I think that continuing to do that and have that and add that little wrinkle in will be advantageous, can be advantageous for Miami, assuming the proper performance of that offense to then get the situation where going at tempo is a thing to happen.
Ronan, our man Ronan, with the euro-dollar conversion 1378 contribution. Appreciate that. Keep up the great work, gentlemen. Hot take. You'll still be making content, and I'll still be donating long after Blake Baker gets fired. Again, go Canes.
I mean, hopefully.
All right. Got a question coming in from JT Sounds, who was asking, Cam, what's your take on Miami having 53 identifiable freshmen having impact on this class as far as numbers because of the 35 or the 85 cap?
And this is the thing. Okay, so there are 53 players who can be classified as freshmen between redshirt freshmen, super freshmen, and true freshmen, because last year did not count for anyone in terms of eligibility. So everybody is back at their same classification from last year. So the 2020 recruiting class are super freshmen, second-year freshmen, but still first year in the program. So they still have 5 more years that they can be here. The 2021 class are true freshmen, as in just from high school. And then anybody for last year who was in the 2019 class and redshirted is still a redshirt freshman as a third-year player, only in their second year of eligibility. So they still have this plus 3 more years on the roster. This is the thing that we were talking about with COVID. I did mention it before, like about a year ago, that the NCAA is going to have to do something with that 85 scholarship number, because with having the ability to bring everyone back at the same classification, that now changes numbers. It has to, because you can take a maximum of 25 a year new incoming counters, but have a maximum of 85 on the roster. So there's going to be some culling of the numbers if you're taking 25 or more every year. This is what oversigning is. This is what Alabama does, and nobody ever talks about Alabama doing this, even though they do it every freaking year. But whatever. But there has to be, and I think there has been a change in the number right now, because you cannot have 5 years worth of players with an 85 number scholarship cap. That's just not feasible. And there's going to have to be some consideration given, not just for this year, but for a couple of years, because you're still going to have 5 and 6 years worth of players on the roster that's supposed to have 3 to 5. Or, I mean, yeah, you're going to have 4 to 7 years worth of roster that's really supposed to be not that many. It's supposed to be 3 to 6-ish, depending on things. But, like, yeah, you got guys who are here much, much longer because they're able to come back through the COVID thing. So, yeah, I think there is that is a factor of having 53 players who can be identified as freshmen, whether that's true super freshmen. That's just what I'm calling them. So true freshmen, super freshmen, and redshirt freshmen, which would actually be a super redshirt freshman, but whatever, you get what I'm saying. And the numbers. So, yeah, the NCAA has to come up with an idea, because just saying, okay, cool, well, we gave everybody an extra year for a while and everything, and then we're just going to go back to 85. Like, numbers work. Math is perfect. But that kind of math does not work. Just to give an extra – we've talked about this before. How many guys sign in Power 5? It's like 1,600 players at this level, or if not more. So you're just going to have 1,600 other players, give or take, and have the exact same number of scholarship players across the landscape with an extra number in there. That's just not going to happen. So hopefully we'll see what happens.
Juju Smith-Schuster may have been younger. I don't know. I can't verify that when he was drafted. That was thrown in by our guy Luke, but he was not drafted in the first round. So it's stated on Koye's bio on Wikipedia that he's the youngest first round draft selection. Smith-Schuster was a second round selection, but I don't know if he was younger, maybe the youngest.
No,
draftee.
that's a good call out. But yeah, obviously, like you can go back and watch. The first one that came to my brain was Omobi Okoye. Now that you've closed that knowledge gap with the name, but yeah, that's what I thought about.
All right,
Demetrius, we're good, man. Good to see you.
Arguing national championships, and North Carolina, of course, prominent because of Mr. Luke Walker. All right.
I saw they got a crystal ball for Dalen Everett from IMG Academy. Just today or yesterday, like a 4-star, 5-star cornerback. Like, we got to do something. We got to recruiting and performance. Something got to shake. Something got to shake, and hopefully soon.
All right, folks, we've got about 115 on the line. Here's what I'm thinking. If everybody goes out there and spreads the word on social media or just talks directly to people that you know that love college football, and I say college football because, of course, even though it's Miami content, we've got fan bases from all over the place who just love college football. So Miami, of course, but other fan bases as well. You've got those friends, those connections on social media. Let people know. If we get everybody to get an average of 3 or 4 people in here in the next several weeks, then we go from our typical 150 in here to do the math, 450, 500. Then those people come in and they enjoy the content for 3 or 4 weeks. We harp on them, meaning I harp on them for 3 or 4 weeks to get more people in here, and we get 1,000 in here by the Alabama game. All right. Where else do we go? I'm not finding anything in here. You guys produce the show.
The other thing is on July 1st, the new name, image, and likeness rules came in, to effect. Basically, because the NCAA tried to kick the ball down the road forever, and the Supreme Court said, "Yeah, nah, you guys are objectively wrong." So I would look at that because you're going to open yourself up to more litigation if you try to continue this stance. And there were states, including Florida, who had name, image, and likeness laws that were coming on online on July 1st. Anyway, so they went to the NCAA announced on June 30th. They were like, "Oh yeah, name, image, and likeness, it's approved across the country." Now we're so magnanimous that we did this move on July 30th after the Supreme Court literally told us that we're going to get shut down if we didn't do it. So yeah, but Miami is just taking super advantage of that, and Miami's ready. De'Aaron King has 7-8 different NIL deals. You got $20,000 from college hunks moving junk. American Top Team, which is a MMA gym owned by a Miami alum that does $50 million or more in revenue a year, pledged over $500,000 towards the entire in a name, image, and likeness deal, an advertising marketing deal for all of the players on the roster, all 90, and the average is $6,000 per player or $500 per month to be spokesman for the gym. So you'll see posts coming from them about that. Gilbert Frierson and Don Chaney Jr. Have a deal with a local butcher, which is known, or I've just recently learned that they're the best butcher around in South Florida and down in South Miami. So you get that from them. So they got in there with some food because hey, college kids, food, Wagyu steak included in my name, image, and likeness deal for college football players. Yeah, that'll work. So you have that. De'Aaron King also put up a NIL marketplace where you can players can go there and register for that and then get connected with people or companies looking to work with them on those things. there's been other players who have had things. Al Blaze Jr. made some incredible shirts. I need to buy one. He's also probably going to have or find a gaming sponsorship because he's an avid Call of Duty player and really, really actually pretty good at it. And we'll see, but it just keeps going. And it exceeds what you thought was out there. I didn't know about this butcher. I literally did not until I saw Frierson and Chaney had it. And I was at the secret day job. I was like, what? I Googled it. It's like, oh, wow. So we have American Kobe beef. We have Australian Kobe beef. And we have the Japanese A5 Wagyu. All Wagyu beef, which is a different kind of steak if you ever had it. So I had never heard of this place, but it's widely apparently known locally to be the best. Okay, cool. So you've already reached me. I'm reaching you guys just about on that NIL deal, just for them signing it, not even actually doing the promo yet. Derek King has a new podcast with Ryan Rigoni, both of them are from Houston. Rigoni was a former walk-on who's now on scholarship as a linebacker, but they have a podcast that's sponsored. They're going to be doing stuff on that and have like weekly or whatever, episodes, and it will continue. Derek King also has something at the Wharf where he'll be doing like events and appearances and things like that. And I personally love to see it because I think that players should be getting paid because they work. I, like some others, would like to see not only these players get the NIL bag, but get some of the bag from the school because they are the labor that is in getting whose work is facilitating all this financial payment and windfall for the university and the athletic department. So yes, getting the side money is great. They should be getting some of this right here money from the school. I personally believe, and miss me with they're paid in education and that's been disproven. You can't even, a lot of times you can't even take the majors that you want. You can't take the classes at the times that you want because you have class or you don't have class, you have practice, you have meetings, you have other things. So that actually is in the way of you actually getting that education. And you're actually really, in a lot of times, these liberal arts majors and things like that, you take classes so that you can stay eligible so you can play football. And I get it because you want to go pro in sports and not something other than sports. But you're not even able to get the education that's there that I got that other students without the athletic component will get. Miss me with that. But what was that last question? Our previous comment. So there's a lot of NIL deals for the University of Miami program, more than any other program. There's some really, really great ones. And I want to continue to see these, and there's more forthcoming. And I, again, personally love to see it. And Miami has been in every publication around talking about the NIL because Miami is an industry leader in that. With the influencer program, there's another Ignite, I think they call it the NIL program. They have another thing together with NIL. I mean, there's just so many things where, there's still some teams who are like announcing some things now, even 7 days later. Ain't no 7 days later. Miami was heavy on that before 4th of July. Like, it's Tuesday, Wednesday, 3rd, like on the 1st, we're ready. You saying, at 12:01, we're signing this, we're putting that, we're posting this from the official accounts, the football, basketball, baseball, women's basketball with coaches, with compliance, with so this is the thing that Miami, I think, early on, more than most other places, seems to be really in a position to take advantage of. And I think that's beneficial for the players because I think, that'll help them. And for everybody who would say like, that American Top Team thing, $500 a month, that's nothing. You remember being in college, bro? You remember being a broke college student? Like that is like a trope for a reason. You know what I mean? $500 a month when you're not paying you have like a meal plan. You're probably having, your dorm paid for and everything like that, but you don't have really any walk around money. $500 a month in college can go a long ways. That's not an insignificant amount of money. So even if you're thinking in your big age with your good job and salary or, hustles or whatever, it's not for you and I, $500 a month is not really life-changing or lifestyle-changing or a really monumental amount of money, I'll take it. I'm not going to turn it down. But for some of these guys in the positions that they are in college, $500 a month, if that's the only NIL deal that they get, right? If they don't get any other, and it's just that, that's still more than I think that a lot of people think it is.
I've been wrestling with so many different aspects and facets of this from the standpoint of who's going to gain a bigger advantage. What schools and what areas of the country? Does social media make location null and void? I don't think it does, but it certainly has a global aspect to it, of course. You know, we are where we're located, and it doesn't matter. We're on the internet, Cam and I right now, but there is a connection to community to many of these deals, as you just pointed out. So Miami and Los Angeles were the first two markets that came to mind when this was even brought up years and years ago for me, because not just because of population, there's population in other places, Dallas, San Francisco, elsewhere, but the combination of the population and the celebrity / entertainment cachet in those two locations.
Yeah. I mean, again, if you go to Nebraska, you're not getting an endorsement deal at the Wharf, which has two locations in South Florida. Both of them are right on the water. They're not super premium, but they're like above standard event spaces with, they have bars there, multiple food vendors, multiple different things. But like people go there, that's like destination location. That's a night out location, right? You're not getting that at, if you go to, Boise State. Now there's something you can get at Boise State, but you're not getting that. You know what I mean?
The argument that Nebraska / Iowa and a few other places are going to say is that they're in a prime position because they're a huge football program, plus they have no competition. That would be their argument versus USC, UCLA, Miami having to go up against 6 or 8 professional sports teams. But I just think that there's so many opportunities and so much money in those locations that there's plenty to go around.
The Florida Panthers hockey team has even said, hey, we're looking to partner with athletes from the state of Florida to with the NIL deal to endorse and advertise for the Florida Panthers National Hockey League team. You know what I mean? Like, if you're talking about money, hello, like a professional NHL franchise has it. All these different things. I mean, these event spaces, these things. I mean, like, look, you got restaurants, you got other venues, there's things that have not even been done yet that those deals are going to be announced, Miami or elsewhere. You can be like, oh, bro, I didn't even think about that. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much out there. There's so much money out there for everybody. And again, it's not only for football players. Yes, football players have been at the forefront. I think he's a basketball player who has an endorsement deal with PetSmart with him and his dog from Arkansas, I believe it is. Cool. But you wouldn't think, okay, how's this player going to get some money? Well, PetSmart. Bet you didn't see that one coming. And if you're not like hard on all the NIL deals, you learn something new right there, right? Oh, PetSmart is even? Yes. That's what I'm saying. There's so much money out there to augment Mark's clearly stated point. Yes, there is so much money out there, and it's going to be great, I think, to see the different avenues that these players go. And this is a way where you can tap into the things that you like outside of sport, outside of what you do on the field. It's funny. I was talking with a good friend of mine the other day. Like, I think for me, I'm a lot like Marshawn Lynch, who once famously said, I don't watch football if I'm not playing it. And for me, I felt the same with music. I'm like, I'm very good at it. And I taught it professionally, and I've done it, professionally and semi-professionally. Well, no, professionally, because I got paid for it since I was 17 years old. But I've done it, and I'm very good at it. And I have a degree in it, and I've helped people get secondary and tertiary degrees in music. I'm really freaking good at music. But I don't necessarily always mess with music when I'm not doing it professionally, because I have these other interests, like sports, like you listening to the sound of my voice right now. And I think that turning it back to the players, you'll be able to have these players who might feel similarly of like, I give everything when I'm in that building and when I'm on that field, but I have these other interests in my life. And with NIL deals, you can see, okay, they're going to lean into some of these other things, some of the other parts of their personality that we might not know, because we know them mostly on Saturday from 12 to 4 or, whatever the time of the game is. But they're living, breathing people, and they might have these other skills or interests and be able to monetize some of those connections and interests and abilities with these NIL deals. And again, not everybody's going to go pro in sports. And the famous, former NCAA commercial, sometimes you're going to go pro in something other than sports. And you know when they can start that? Right now. Love to see it.
I've certainly made my thoughts and opinions about NIL known elsewhere. So look up the live streams. They're all over the place. People call in every night. So there you go. I'll not go into it right now, but I'm largely in favor of it. All right. We read all the super chats. We don't necessarily answer all the super chats. So
I'll answer it.
Okay. The Truth is asking, hey, Cam, what's the secret day job?
I will tell you this. Because Mark actually knows what the secret day job is. So I'm going to say this, and I'm going to answer your question. The secret day job is at a place that you know the name of. Am I wrong, Mark?
No, you were not wrong.
That is the answer. Thanks for asking. And again, he actually knows what the secret day job is. So I answered that accurately. I didn't answer it categorically, but yes.
Absolutely. All right, folks. There's a zillion things running through my brain, and I will not state one of them.
Inside jokes are fun.
My man Cam Underwood, State of the U. Good stuff as always. Breaking down Miami football. We hope everybody out there appreciates it because we get them every week for an hour plus. And you guys benefit. I benefit. The channel benefits. Everyone benefits. Cam needs to benefit as well. So please consider we appreciate everybody who supports. And consider that in the future, whether that be through the super chat here, or if you hit me up on Venmo, PayPal, or Cash App, you bypass YouTube. Some of you understand the advantages of doing that. Just please, if you are contributing to a specific show, meaning this one right now, that you make note of that. All right, man.
Yeah, good to be back.
You enjoy your evening.
You guys do the same. Be sure you click on over to stateoftheu.com. We got a bunch of stuff. Justin DeTavio just put up his latest summer scheming, which is 2 tabs over. This one is on Virginia. I believe is game 4 or 5 of the year. Already did the self-scouting. So if you were interested in his view of what Miami offers as a program and started down the list of games for the year. So we have that. Some player profiles are up. Jake Marcus, shout out to him. He's one of our contributors. He wrote this thing on DeAndre Johnson, the transfer from Tennessee. And I'm like, if I knew that this didn't take you like a week, I would have you do all of the player profiles because, oh my goodness, you have to see it. It's really incredible. No cap. Like, seriously, go check it out. It's very, very well done. And I learned a couple different things in there as well. So we have those things. We have game previews, position previews, player profiles, and more going through the entire summer with State of the U as we push towards the Alabama game. So that's the website, stateoftheu.com, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at The State of the U. My Twitter account, personal, is at Underwood Sports. I was very disappointed that Gabe won Top Chef, in case you were wondering, but such is life. And that's all I have for you, my friends.
The next time we go live is Friday at 2:30 Eastern Time, Oklahoma live.